I still check my Ring footage every morning before I get out of bed. I've been doing it for 4 months now. I can't stop. Because once you've seen what I've seen, you never feel completely alone in your own home again. I moved into a small ranch-style house in a suburb outside of Columbus, Ohio, last spring. Nice neighborhood, tree-lined streets, the kind of place where people wave at you when you check the mail. I'm a single woman in my mid-30s, work from home doing graphic design, and I'd lived alone before without a second thought. But a friend talked me into putting up a Ring doorbell and 2 indoor cameras, one in the living room, one at the end of the hallway, mostly as a joke. "You're out in the suburbs now," she said. "Might as well look the part." For the first 2 months, those cameras caught absolutely nothing interesting. A delivery driver, a stray cat, me forgetting my keys. Classic stuff. Then one night in late July, I'm working late, headphones on, and my phone buzzes. Motion alert. I tap the notification and see my front porch on the Ring live feed. Empty. Just the yellow glow of the porch light and the dark street beyond it. I assumed it was a moth and went back to work, but I couldn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about the alert and eventually opened the app again to scrub through the recorded footage. There it was, a clear, unobstructed view of my empty porch. But right before the recording ended, I noticed something in the lower left corner of the frame. The motion sensor light on the side of my garage, which has its own separate trigger, was on. Pointing toward the backyard, something had come around from behind the house. Not the front. I told myself it was an animal. 3 nights later, it happened again. Same time, just after midnight. Motion alert, empty porch, garage light on. I went through the indoor hallway camera footage and my stomach dropped. At 12:18 in the morning, the long hallway leading to my bedroom was pitch dark, the way it always is at night. But about 4 seconds into the clip, there was a sound. Not a bang, not a footstep. It was a voice, low just above a whisper, 2 syllables. My name, my first name, said slowly, like someone reading it off a piece of paper for the first time. I played it 6 times. I called my sister. She heard it too. I changed my locks. I had a security company come out and check every window and door. Nothing had been disturbed. No signs of entry. I started sleeping with the lights on. The next week was quiet. I started to breathe again. I started to think I'd imagined the whole thing, that the audio had been some kind of glitch, a bleed from a neighbor's TV or something. That's what I needed to believe. Then on a Sunday evening, I'm on the couch watching TV, fully awake, lights on, nothing unusual. My living room camera sends a motion alert. I look up from my phone. I look at the living room. I'm sitting in it. Nothing is moving. I open the live feed on the app anyway. And in the live feed, the couch behind me is empty. I turned around. I was alone. I was clearly alone, but the camera was showing me a room with no one in it. I stood up and waved my arms. Nothing changed on the feed. It was as if the camera could see the room but not me. Like I wasn't there. Or like whatever was in that room when the camera detected motion wasn't me. I grabbed my keys and drove to a hotel. Checked in at 9 in the evening on a Sunday with no luggage. I don't think I've ever felt more certain that something was terribly wrong. I had a friend with a background in security systems review all the footage. His conclusion, the cameras were functioning perfectly. No tampering, no software glitch. All recordings were authentic. He had no explanation for the discrepancy in the live feed. I'm back in the house now. I've had the cameras checked twice more. Everything is normal, or at least it looks that way on the footage. What I can't explain is this. Last week I was reviewing old clips from that first month, the boring ones, the deliveries, and the cat. And in one of them, from my very first week in the house, the indoor hallway camera captures the empty hall at 3 in the morning. And in the darkness at the far end of the hall, just outside my bedroom door, there is a shape, standing perfectly still. It had been there since the beginning. I hadn't checked carefully enough. I check every frame now, That was just the beginning. The next incident will make you question the shadows in your own room. My neighbor posted the footage online first. I didn't even know it existed until my phone blew up at 7 in the morning with people tagging me in the same Reddit thread. That's how I found out what had been standing outside my apartment for 11 nights in a row. I live in a ground floor apartment in a mid-sized city in Georgia. Not a bad area. The building is older, maybe from the 60s. The kind with a shared outdoor walkway along each floor where you can see your neighbor's doors from outside. I share the walkway with 3 other units. My neighbor across the hall, a retired man named Gerald, set up a Ring camera on his door about 6 months ago after a package was stolen. His camera faces the walkway. It has a direct line of sight to my front door. I did not have a camera of my own. I want you to understand that clearly. I had no idea anything was happening. I was sleeping through all of it. When Gerald finally reviewed his footage, and he doesn't check it often, he set it up and mostly forgot about it. He found 11 separate recordings spread across 3 weeks, each one between 2 and 4 in the morning. Each one showing the same thing, a figure standing directly in front of my door. Not Gerald's door, not the other neighbors' doors. Mine specifically, every single time. The figure is tall and thin and stands completely still. Both arms are at its sides. It faces my door without moving for anywhere between 6 and 23 minutes. Then it turns and walks back down the walkway toward the stairs and disappears. It never knocks. It never touches the door. It just stands there. What Gerald noticed, and what I wish he hadn't told me, is that in several of the clips the figure turns its head slowly to the right. Gerald's camera is to the right. The figure turns and looks directly into the lens, then turns back to face my door. It knew the camera was there, and it didn't care. The police reviewed the footage. They said the figure appeared to be a person, likely an adult male based on height, wearing dark clothing with a hood. They had no way to identify him from the clips alone. They told me to make sure my door was locked. It always was, and suggested I install my own camera. They increased drive-bys in the area. They said there wasn't much else they could do since he hadn't done anything that broke a law. Standing on a public walkway isn't illegal. I installed 3 cameras that same afternoon. One on my door, one covering the walkway left, one covering the walkway right. Gerald shared every piece of footage he had. He has not appeared since the cameras went up. That was 62 days ago. I know because I have been counting. But here's the part I keep coming back to. When Gerald and I sat down and reviewed all 11 clips in sequence, we noticed something that neither of us had caught individually. In the 3rd clip, the figure arrives and stands at my door the same as always. Then about 4 minutes in, he turns to face Gerald's camera. He looks into it for a long moment. Then he raises one hand and points, not at the camera, not at Gerald's door, at the window of my apartment, the bedroom window, where I was sleeping. He pointed directly at it and held his arm raised for 8 full seconds before lowering it and walking away. I have not had a full night of sleep since I watched that clip. And sometimes, I know this doesn't make sense and I know what it sounds like. Sometimes late at night when I'm lying in bed, I get the feeling that something is still out there. Not visible on camera, not caught, just standing somewhere just out of frame, waiting patiently for a night when all the cameras are off, a night when no one is watching back. That's what terrifies me most. Not what the cameras caught, what they might have missed. If your heart is already racing, take a deep breath, because our final story is the one that no one survived to tell. I need to be very careful about how I say this because I know how it sounds, but I reviewed the footage. I've reviewed it dozens of times. I've had 3 other people review it. And there is no explanation that makes sense, none. My wife and I live in a 2-story house in a suburb outside of Denver. We've been here for 6 years. 2 kids, 8 and 10. Normal family. Normal house. We got Ring cameras 2 years ago. Front door, back door, driveway, and one indoor camera in the living room that we mostly use to check on the dog when we're out. Last October, we went to a family reunion in New Mexico. 4 days, Thursday through Sunday. We left the dog with my wife's sister. The house was empty.
Locked up tight, alarm set, cameras all running on motion detection.
I checked the app twice a day from my phone just out of habit. Nothing. 4 days of absolutely nothing. We drove back Sunday night and pulled into the driveway around 10:30. The driveway camera caught us arriving. I remember that because I checked the app right when we got home. A habit, and I saw the notification for our own arrival. I went through the house, turned off the alarm, let my wife and kids in, brought in the bags. Completely normal. The next morning, I opened the Ring app to clear the week's worth of notifications. I started from Thursday and worked forward. Empty house. Empty driveway. Nothing on the front door. Nothing on the back. Nothing in the living room. Day after day of a quiet, empty house. Until Saturday night. 11:47 in the evening. The indoor living room camera triggered a motion alert. I almost skipped it. Probably just the shadows from a car passing outside, something shifting the light. But I clicked it. The living room was dark except for the dim glow from the clock on the microwave, visible through the kitchen doorway. The couch was there. The coffee table. The dog's empty bed in the corner. All exactly as we'd left it. And my son was sitting on the couch. My 8-year-old son. In his pajamas. The blue ones with the dinosaurs. Sitting on the living room couch at 11:47 on a Saturday night. In a house that was locked and empty. 400 miles from where he actually was. Asleep in a hotel room in New Mexico next to his sister. While I watched a movie 2 beds away. I know it was him because I know my child. I know his face. I know those pajamas. I know the way he sits slightly forward, hands on his knees like he's waiting for something. The clip is 41 seconds long. He sits there for 38 of them, looking at something off camera to the left. Not moving, not reacting, just sitting very still in the dark. Then in the last 3 seconds, he turns and looks directly at the camera, and then the clip ends. I woke my wife up at 2 in the morning. She watched it. She didn't say anything for a long time. Then she said, "That's him." And then she went to the kids' beds and stood there watching them sleep for a while, and I didn't ask her to stop. We have no explanation. The house was locked. The alarm did not trigger. There were no other motion clips before or after that one. No sign of entry. Nothing was moved, nothing was disturbed, nothing was taken. Everything was exactly where we left it when we got home Sunday night. We had the footage authenticated. It has not been edited or tampered with. The timestamp is accurate. The camera was functioning normally. I have asked my son about it. Carefully, the way you try to ask a child something without scaring them. I told him we saw something funny on the camera while we were away. Asked if he'd been thinking about home a lot that weekend. He thought about it and said yes. He said he was worried something would happen to the house while we were gone. He said he kept thinking about it before he fell asleep. He was 8. He thought he was just being anxious about an empty house. I don't know what I believe. I don't know what that footage shows. I don't know what was sitting on my couch in my locked, empty house at 11:47 on a Saturday night wearing my son's face in his pajamas and turning to look into the camera like it knew exactly where to find it. But I know this, I have 2 kids, and I would recognize either one of them anywhere. Even there, even then, some things don't have explanations. They just have footage. If these stories kept you up tonight, you already know what to do. Subscribe and turn off the light. We'll be here next week. We always are.